Okay.
Okay.
Action.
Action. I guess you want me to stay relatively still, huh? So love. The whole universe is filled with love. Paramahansa Yogananda writes that just the way the whole olive is filled completely, every part of the olive is permeated with the olive oil, so too the whole universe, all of creation, is permeated with divine love. How awesome is that? Can we feel the love? Maybe, maybe not. Are we feeling the love in this moment? Maybe, maybe not. I invite us to open up more than ever before to the grandness of divine love. It's infinite. There's no end to it. There's no limit to it. Hence the title, Love Without Limits, Part 1. There's no limit to love. There needs to be no limit to love. We can access love anytime, anywhere, especially when we need it. And I know sometimes we get down into those dark, deep, dark spaces of sadness and grief and loss and loneliness and depression, and that's possible. But even there, even in those dark spaces, there is love. So let's look at how we get into those hurting spaces or dark spaces. I'd rather call them hurting spaces for the purposes of today. So we all have these hurting places in us, right? Have you ever met anyone who never felt hurt in life, who never, had anything but love and joy and gladness always shining every moment their whole lives? Have you ever met anyone like that? Perfectly loving, perfectly blissful every moment? Anyone? Have you met anyone like that? Ever, ever, ever? No. Okay, thank you. No. So we are human, and so we tend to feel hurt. And how does that happen? Let's look at that for a minute. So the title of the children's moment, Love That Heals the Hurts. We all start out as children. We all start out as those little beings who are vulnerable and dependent on other people. And so we have moms and dads, or moms and moms, or dads and dads, siblings, grandmas, grandpas, whoever's taking care of us, adoptive parents, whoever it might be. We all come into this world in the care of someone else. And is that someone else perfect? No. So there may be moments where we are crying and our needs are not yet attended to, and so we may develop little fears in our baby selves and little lacks of trust in our baby selves. We may have scarier things happen as we start to grow up. We may fall down and hit our heads. We may have a sibling who calls us names. We may go to school and find that everyone else has these amazing clothes and perfect notebooks and everything else, and we may look down at our clothes and go, oh, I don't fit in. Whatever our version of that is, each and every one of us has these little strings of hurts that happen in us. And they kind of stay there somewhere in our subconscious and in our bodies. I know that from doing energy work. And in energy work, sometimes I'll find pain in people's bodies that comes from an emotional hurt from when they were children. Literally still stuck there because it never healed. That emotional hurt never healed. So how many of us would say we've had our feelings hurt? I'm guessing that means we've all had our feelings hurt at some time. How many of us have also hurt somebody else's feelings? I'm guessing we've all hurt somebody else's feelings. Maybe not intentionally, maybe intentionally. So we are imperfect human beings, and it all arises out of this experience of hurt, of pain, of separation, of being separate and alone. And there's no cure for this state of humanity. We come into this world and we experience these hurts. The cure, the healing process, however, is learning to heal our own hurts through love. And so I invite us to choose just one episode when we were children. Just one event when we were children, maybe the most hurtful thing. Now, maybe we saw an issue or a problem going on with one of our parents. Maybe one of our parents was giving us an issue or a problem. Maybe it was a sibling doing something that we experienced as hurtful. Maybe it was someone else at school. But I'd like us to just choose one moment that was hurtful to us as a child or scary for us as a child, and reflect on that for one moment. And now I'd like you to picture yourself as that child. If you can, picture yourself. If you can't, don't have a photo of yourself in your memory of what you looked like at that age, I'd like you just to get the general idea of what you looked like at that age. And if you can remember what clothes you wore at that age, awesome. If you don't remember what clothes you wore, okay. But I'd like you to just, in your mind's eye, just picture yourself at that age. And I'd like you to invite your little self to come walk over to you. And if it's baby, pick up that baby self and hold that baby self or young toddler self. Or if it's a child, take that child self by the hand and come invite your younger self to sit on your lap. And I'd like you to hold your younger self. And I'd like you to look into the face of your younger self and love yourself. Just love yourself. And look at your little self. It might help if you closed your eyes. It might be more helpful to close your eyes and just see yourself as a young child and go, you know what? It doesn't matter what that person said or did, because I love you. I love you. So the way to heal our hurts and wounds is not to depend on some other magic person to come into our lives. Our mothers and fathers may never have said or may never say the thing we long for them to say to us, the thing we long to hear. Our brothers and sisters may never come around and love us the way we wish they would. Our friends may never do it. Our spouses may never say that one thing we wish they would say or the way we wish they would say it. We are the ones who get to heal ourselves. Why? Because love is infinite and love is inside each of us. We don't have to reach outside of ourselves and get someone else to love us. I know sometimes we feel like that's what we need. I know we can spend years feeling like, oh, if somebody else just loved me, I'd feel better, right? Some of us feel that way. We don't need that. The divine is in us. The very real presence of God is in each of us. The very real presence of love is in each and every one of us. Infinite love, like light, is vibrating in you right now. And you can hold yourself and just love yourself. And I invite you to do so. If you've never done that, and if you need to do it going home and being in your own space and just going, I'm going to look inside myself at my little boy self or my little girl self, and I'm going to love myself. I invite you to do that today. Why? Because we need it. Again, I do intuitive life coaching and energy healing and hypnotherapy, and everyone who comes to me has an inner wounded child. Not just an inner child, but an inner wounded child, because we've all experienced hurts along the way. It may not be a terribly wounded child. It may be someone who had to just figure out their own identity in relation with siblings who were very different and, didn't say a lot of negative things, but we all have to some degree an inner wounded child. And we get to grow up and be our divine selves and love ourselves and parent ourselves. So I'd like to invite you to think of one thing that your inner wounded child needs to hear. If you would, please get in touch with what is the one deep thing inside yourself that your inner child longs to hear. Could it be simply, I love you? Could it be, you are worthy? Could it be, you're wonderful, you're capable, you're talented, you're gifted, you're smart, you're intelligent? Could it be, you can do this? Could it be, I believe in you? Could it be, I trust you? Could it be, I will be with you always? Some of us have that kind of hurt that we call abandonment or abandonment issues. And that means that at some point along our journey, especially when we were young, we felt abandoned by someone who was caring for us. And without that someone, we didn't know how to receive the caring we needed. And so out of that, we need to look and ask ourselves, how have I learned to abandon myself? How have I abandoned myself at the very times I've needed myself the most? So I invite us to choose to be with us and bless ourselves, and to realize that we are never alone, we are never abandoned by the divine presence, and we never have to abandon ourselves. In the midst of the deepest, darkest times, guess what? We're still there. Even when we're depressed, guess who's there? We are. When we're about to give up, who's doing the feeling like giving up? We are. So we're still there. So no matter what is happening around us or inside us, we're still there. So we've never, ever abandoned ourselves. The divine in us has never, ever abandoned ourselves. We're never truly alone. Because a spark of that divine love, a spark of divinity is within each of us. And it is up to us to love that spark. So even if it's the you who's still there when you're feeling depressed, or if it's the you who's still there when you're in such emotional pain, or if it's the you who's still there grieving, that's the you that you get to love. That's the you that you get to be grateful for. That's the you that you get to say, hey, I can do this. I do love myself. I love that part of me that is still showing up. I love that part of myself that is strong enough to be here. And I will never abandon myself again. I love myself. Love without limits. Love is unlimited. We're here, we're breathing with every breath. I invite us to breathe in love. And then here's the hard part for us adults, I think. Maybe it's because I come from a Judeo-Christian background, especially with Christianity. There could be a lot of guilt and sin and shame and blame, and back to guilt and sin and blame and shame. Kind of this endless cycle of guilt and blame and shame. And then forgiveness, if you ask for it. If you repent and ask for forgiveness, then you get it. There's grace. But in the meantime, then there's back a lot of guilt and sin and shame and blame. And then, okay, so maybe I repent and then there's forgiveness. And then maybe I'll feel that grace. But in the meantime, from some religious traditions, we've built up a whole lot of blame and guilt and sinful feelings and what might be called sinful feelings, and shame and blame. And when we're full of that negativity from our religious traditions judging us, we forget all about love. We lose sight of love. And so when we get to be adults, sometimes we make choices that are imperfect. Sometimes as adults we do say hurtful things to other people. Sometimes as adults we do choose hurtful things for ourselves, whether it's just not taking care of our bodies responsibly, or maybe not taking care of a responsibility in relation to the outside world very well, or whatever it might be, hurting someone else, not being there for someone else. We do hurtful things sometimes as adults. And then I wonder what happens inside each of our brains. So a lot of us go into judgment. A lot of us were raised with judgmental thinking, and we judge, and we go, oh my gosh, I did something bad, quote unquote, bad. And when we do that, we judge ourselves and put ourselves down, and our energy starts going down. And what we need at that point is to learn not to judge. Because in our societies in general, we've been taught to evaluate, if not to judge. Society out there is constantly evaluating us. You did a good job, you did a bad job. You did a great job, you need to do that better. Or A, you get an A on this. No, you flunked. You did a D on this, you got a B on this. We're constantly being evaluated in our jobs, in school, in life, in relationships. Constantly evaluated. Where's the unconditional love? How do we get to the unconditional love for ourselves so that we can also get there for others? The gift and the invitation today is to stop judging ourselves, to stop evaluating ourselves. Oh, I did great then. Oh no, I didn't do well then. I said something hurtful. Oh my gosh. Let's stop judging. When we think back to the inner wounded child self, we know that that's where anything that we do now that seems to lack love, that's where it comes from. Whether it's from an old fear or from an old hurt, that's where our current lack of love comes from. So we have no need to judge ourselves when we are not in full alignment with Love Unlimited. When we are not in alignment with Love Unlimited, the thing we need more of is love, not judgment, not evaluation, not shame, not blame, not guilt. Well, yes, we might want to really honor that we've done something that might have been hurtful to someone else and apologize, or to the divine and say, I know I let you down, I apologize. But then we bring in the love, not the judgment. Then we go, oh my gosh, I know I did that because somewhere in me is some old hurt or some old fear. I don't need to judge myself anymore. And the more we let go of judgment, the more we invite in love and understanding for ourselves, the more we can vibrate with unconditional love. We need to give it to ourselves first in order to be able to give it to others. That is a key concept in the spiritual path. That's why Jesus said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. He was just assuming we knew that we needed to love ourselves. We can't love others unconditionally until we love ourselves unconditionally. And only by loving all the little wounded, fearful parts of ourselves can we love ourselves unconditionally. Only by loving and forgiving ourselves can we vibrate with love unlimited. So today, I invite you from now on, whenever you're feeling not in a 100% vibration of love unlimited, to love yourself even more, to go, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I fearing? Am I feeling hurt? Am I feeling afraid? I need to put more love in. I'm going to love myself. I'm afraid, feeling afraid. Not I am afraid. Please let's not say that one. I feel afraid. Okay, I'm going to bring more love in. Because I deserve it, because I need it, because love is available to me, because love is in me. And I would like everyone to know that you are, and to repeat with me if you so choose, I am love without limits. I
am love without limits.